Chefs, what red flags should people look out for when they go out to eat? If a restaurant has a huge menu, it's all frozen. When the menus are super dirty and never cleaned, that means everything is super dirty and never cleaned. If the area is busy but the restaurant is empty, that's usually a bad sign. Ask where your oysters come from. If they don't know, you don't want them. Works for most seafood. If a restaurant has a one-page menu, that's usually a pretty good sign. It means their line cooks have become specialists and can usually nail all the dishes listed. Conversely, if a restaurant has a giant, multi-page menu, that's a gigantic red flag. The longer the menu, the better the odds that you're paying to eat a boiled bag frozen meal. Cook for a small Mexican restaurant here. I always look for how the staff interact with each other. If they all seem to enjoy being there, and coordinate well, more often than not it's because everything is running smoothly and they have a good system, which usually means they know what they're doing and you can expect good food. That's how it always is for the smaller, family-run restaurants I frequent anyway, which I believe always have the best food. Pictures of food on the menu that clearly aren't from the restaurant. Pastry chef here. As much as people say avoid specials, I can't speak for everyone, but at least in desserts, breakfast pastries, if you see something new it's worth trying. Chances are it's something the chef has been working on for weeks on their own time. There's a lot of love and effort put into it. Also, the standby: if the menu is a book, it's probably not great. The biggest thing to keep an eye on though is the staff. If there's pissed off people, get out as fast as you can obviously. If everyone is kinda apathetic and not talking to each other much, get out. That's also a shitty environment. Everyone is probably really passive-aggressive, and that's going to show. If people seem genuinely good with being there even if it's busy, or if there's playful ragging going on, that's where you want to be. The better the staff gets along, the better everything in the place runs. I have a family member who's worked in multiple different restaurants, and they always advise me never to get drinks with ice because too many places don't keep their ice machines cleaned because it's so often overlooked compared to other kitchen equipment. Not a chef, but I just took a chance on a restaurant today and the chefs were sitting, legs up, right next to the front door as I walked in. No one but staff and me there. So, according to how my stomach feels, probably that. Dirty stained carpets. We have a sushi place where the chef gives you free samples of future dishes. This usually means they take pride in their work and want to see people's reactions before committing it to the menu. There's a Chinese restaurant in my town with a sign out front that says, "Clean food and fresh." I still can't help but wonder why they would bring that up unprovoked. Not a chef but worked in food a lot. Carpet. Yeah, it's quieter and doesn't get slick, but it is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. I saw them pull it up when they remodeled and put in more carpet. Vacuuming only goes so far in a restaurant, and I know they never ever shampooed it. If there is different cuisines on the same menu, it usually means it's not gonna be good. I don't trust that people can do Japanese and Italian in the same kitchen. I agree with most of these tips, but man, I remember my trip to Malacca, Malaysia. We walked up to a stall where an elderly lady was squatting down just in front of the sidewalk with a plastic basin and washing the dishes in it. Stray cats were coming in from the alley and licking at dishes. My first question was, is this a restaurant? Upon closer inspection, yes, it is. My second question was, who on earth would eat here? Then our guide brought us inside. Looks like we are. Food was amazing and delicious, and despite fearing the worst, nobody got sick. Edit: wow, I didn't realize this comment would be so popular. Thanks Reddit. To answer the question, why would you even eat there, our trip up until that point had been very well planned. Stayed in a great Holiday Inn with a delicious international breakfast buffet. Tour bus was very clean. The highlight of the trip was when they took us to a pineapple farm and we got to sample. Hint: supermarket pineapple has nothing on the fresh stuff. Most of the restaurants we had been taken to were, by Western standards, quite clean. This one was definitely an outlier in that regard, but by this point we had developed a trust in our guide. I would never have even thought to walk into this place on my own accord, but then I would have missed out on some amazing food. I should post some pictures, pretty sure I have a pic of that cat. If employees try to argue with you about food quality in order to dissuade you from sending something undercooked back, just leave. It means they have a cook who can't take criticism and your chances at getting a sneezer are greatly increased. I've worked in restaurants for over a decade. A couple years in the kitchen and the rest as FOH. If your server's response to, "How is the item?" seems disingenuous, that's a big red flag. We know what goes on in the kitchen, we know the complaints, and we know which items to stress over when we deliver them. Servers who pause or seem uncomfortable with that question generally equates to a menu full of stuff we wouldn't eat even as a free shift meal. A good sign is when servers hang out and eat at the restaurant post-shift. Generally we are getting a discount but not free food. If we are spending our nightly tips on it, it's worth it. Edit, whoa, thanks for gold kind stranger. This is late but I clean kitchen exhaust systems. If you walk in a restaurant and can smell grease, walk out. That means the place isn't clean. From the exhaust system to cooking equipment. We clean some places where grease drips off the hoods onto cooking surfaces. Edit, for my first ever post this blew up. Thank you all. Cook at a fancy casual fine dining restaurant here. If your food is out impossibly fast, it's probably something to be concerned about. I'm talking ordering an entree and it's out in like 10 minutes. This usually means it's already been cooked and they just have to reheat it. Now something like a salad, okay, that shouldn't take any time at all, but you want to make sure your lettuce, or whatever green it is still crunchy and fresh, otherwise it's been made before and has been sitting. Generally speaking, watch the wait staff. If the majority of them seem disgruntled or upset, things probably aren't great. This often translates to the kitchen, so they probably don't care about your food if they aren't being treated fairly. Another thing to look out for is the cleanliness of the place. If the restaurant seems dirty or unmaintained, the kitchen is in similar shape most of the time. I've heard people say, never order the fish on a Monday, or, don't get any specials because it's probably product that's about to go bad, but at my restaurant that's not the case. We get orders all throughout the week and our specials are things we are playing around with to see if it could be added to the menu. So I would say just be cautious about that sort of stuff. Also, it helps to read reviews. I like to read the 1-star reviews to see why it was rated that way. If a majority of the reviews are for some really stupid shit, and all the other reviews are great, you're likely going to get some kick-ass food and service. You all know the ones I'm talking about. Some Karen who left a 1-star review because her water ran out once during a huge crunch, or something else totally ridiculous. How does the place actually smell? Does it smell like good food? Then it likely is. Does it smell like perfume or sterile when these is clearly food on the tables? That could be a bad sign that they are trying to hide something less than pleasant. That's pretty much all I can think of at the moment. Edit, okay, since I didn't make it clear what I mean by insanely fast, and I'm getting a lot of pushback. Yeah, average ticket time should be about 15 minutes. I was maybe being a bit overzealous with the 10-minute turnaround, but I was thinking of large tickets when the place is slammed or it just feels like your food came out very quickly. A $4 steak is not a good steak. Not a chef, front of the house. When my boss, the owner, used to host and people would complain to her about the hour wait on Saturday night at 7 p.m. and then threaten to leave, she would tell them, if the restaurant you choose does not have a wait on a Saturday night, you may not want to eat there, and then turn her biggest shit-eating grin on them. Can I add you to the list? If you walk into a restaurant and hear Gordon Ramsay yelling at the staff, you probably want to leave. Unless it's one of Gordon's restaurants, of course. This isn't so much about sanitary red flags like most of these, but more about saving you money. If you're going to get sushi rolls, make sure you read the ingredients. A lot of places have what amounts to a California roll for a premium price. I've told this story before, but it is the best example of what I mean. I worked at a Japanese restaurant for a while and we had this thing called a volcano roll and it cost $7.25. A California roll there cost $3.75. The volcano roll was a Cali roll cut into the shape of a triangle and topped with spicy mayo that has been heated up with about 10 cents worth of fish, literally just a few bits that was not worth it. You are much better off ordering a Cali roll and paying 50 cents extra for spicy mayo on the side and asking them to heat it up. I had one guy come in with a girl and he ordered a couple of regular rolls like spicy tuna and yellowtail, along with a volcano roll. When served in the restaurant, unless they ask us, we would put the sauce on top so it looked nice, like a volcano. When I brought that roll over he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys put the sauce on, I've only gotten it for pickup and the sauce is always on the side. I don't really like it, could you bring me one without it?" I tried not to laugh and said sure. I went back and the sushi chef asked what was wrong. I told him that he didn't like the sauce and want one without it. He laughed and said alright, so he took a cali roll, cut it up, and put it on the plate. I brought it back to the guy and he was super pumped. Basically this guy paid $7.25 for a roll that would have cost him $3.75 and me and the sushi chef got to split a free volcano roll. Normally I would have just told him about it, but the dude was being so arrogant the entire time, I'm guessing to act like he was a sushi expert to impress the girl he was with. I've seen this at a couple of other places too where they slightly dress up a California roll and jack up the price. You don't want to end up like that guy just because you didn't take a few seconds to go over the ingredients.